In business, there's an expression, act locally, think globally. We're going to introduce to you today on Invisible Majority a gentleman by the name of Trevor Wilson. This man has put those very words into actions. He's billed as a global human equity strategist. Come on, let's see him.
I wasn't a very good banker. In fact, I was a really awful banker, and that was sending me a signal that I should probably be doing something else. What I was doing in my part-time, if you will, was on the side, was community work with the black community. I was involved with a lot of black community organizations, and that gave me access to certain politicians. And one of the access points was to a guy named David Peterson, who eventually became premier in the 80s. And he actually hired me on to help create their multiculturalism strategy. And so I started with him when he was still in opposition. So when he became premier, he asked me to come on as his special assistant. And I actually learned this type of business during the 80s when I was putting together the strategy for him and working with him. The NDP, which had been run by Bob Rae in those days, and the Liberals decided that they were going to do a number of things in a coalition government that they created in the mid-80s. One of the things was employment equity legislation, which is the Canadian version of affirmative action. So in 1989, my father actually backed a small family business based around one of those three areas, waiting for employment equity legislation to hit. And my theory was that if the legislation hit, then we would be in the market first, and then as people joined the market, we would be ahead. And we actually grew our company to the largest consultancy in the area of employment equity from 91 to 94. Omnibus Consult.
How do you handle professional obstacles? Because I got the feeling reading your book and in your delivery that this could have been a low point for you.
It's that old adage that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And these are things that clearly were unexpected. We had no idea that Mike Harris would get elected, and we had no idea that he'd get rid of employment equity legislation, and then we had no idea that that would mean the end of the company, the end of Omnibus as we knew it. The message that I was putting out to organizations at that time was you shouldn't do this because a government's forcing you to do it. You should look at issues of diversity and equity in the workplace because it's better for your bottom line. There's a business case. When Mike Harris came in, the window that opened was the opportunity to put that message down in a book. After Omnibus, and went away and wrote the book Diversity at Work, the Business Case for Equity. And then TWI was incorporated in a year later, and 1996, and that basically was built around the principles that are in that book. My public role models are in my office, at home. I've got a picture of Gandhi, I've got a picture of Martin Luther King, got a picture of Malcolm X, and a picture of Mandela. And these clearly are my public role models, but my first role models were my parents. So there's no doubt that when I wrote this, the first thing to do was to dedicate it to my mother and father, who really have been the role models that have given me the path.
What's your take on the use of the N-word?
The N-word, I think, has really become a bit of a political correct conversation. I think that what we want to take a look is putting everything in context, as you say, and putting it in perspective. That is this really something that we should be spending a lot of our time on when we've got kids that are moving into gangs, we've got kids that are looking for themselves, looking to find themselves, and is this the type of thing that we should be spending our time, money, attention on? Because there are other things that call out for our attention. As a community, you take a look at what Crew TV is trying to do, send positive messages to our community, that there's a need that this medium is filling, that obviously is not being filled by the mainstream media, and utilizing a very powerful tool, i.e. the internet, to get this message out to people that would never necessarily see it.